Welcome to Passive Aggressive Income. This program may contain strong language. The content may not be suitable for audiences under the age of 17. We understand many of our listeners may not agree with all of our personal viewpoints. We in no way, shape, or form mean to be offensive to anyone. Our show notes will provide all of our source material included for each episode. Now let's get passive aggressive. Welcome back to another episode of Passive Aggressive Income. I'm excited for this episode because I was asking Lexi some questions and I'm just like, why don't we just make an episode out of it? So here we are. Lexi is going to take over the reins and educate everybody.
All right. Yeah. I love that podcast episodes come from real life.
Yeah.
And so this week I'm going to be talking about how to make a website and what your options are when it comes to being someone who doesn't know how to program and write code. And, not just programmers need a website, and you may not have a bunch of money to spend on someone who knows how to build a website from scratch. So we're going to go through the options this week. So, if you're an entrepreneur looking to make money from your side hustle, it's a good idea to have a website which details your products or services and makes people want to support you. And, like I said, if you've never written a line of code or are feeling overwhelmed with where to start, just keep listening because we will get to it.
Okay.
If you don't have any experience building a website from scratch with code, there are plenty of platforms that you can use which have tons of templates to get you started. And I have experience using all of these. So I'll give you some pros and cons, which I've personally come across of each of them. So we'll start with my favorite, Wix. This is my favorite website builder by far, based on what I've needed to use it for. I've used it for my own photography website. I've used it to create a website for one of my past clients who does like home renovations and construction type things, where he wasn't selling like physical products, and I had a link to the page that I would sell my actual prints of my photography, but it was a really good place to have like a landing page and detail services and show off some of the things that you have going on. But I like Wix because it's super customizable. You can drag and resize each element on your website to be exactly where you want it to be or whatever size you want it to be. And they do have some guidelines. So when you're moving, like, say, a picture around on the page, you can see when it's centered or when it's in line with other elements on the page. So I find that to be really helpful, where
Hmm.
you're still able to see that, like, yes, this looks okay. Things are lining up, even though you do have that customization available to you. They also have tons of fonts and gallery styles and button styles, and all of those things are customizable. And just in general, I find it really intuitive to use. So, creating pages or adding page anchors, adding media to the page, things like that, it just kind of like makes sense. Like, it's easy to find where those things are. And in addition to that, they have a place where you can schedule newsletters and promotional emails and a blog and all of that kind of stuff. And so, although I haven't personally used the shop e-commerce part of Wix, they do have that available too. And I do know someone who uses Wix to sell physical products, and they've been using it for years.
Hmm.
So I can't personally vouch for how easy that is to use, but it is available to you.
That's awesome that you can use it for both.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next platform is Squarespace. So you've probably heard of Squarespace because they have tons of ads, like especially on YouTube videos where they have people who are promoting those, promoting to like get your website started. So it's definitely like one to mention. And I've used it a few times and I do like Squarespace. I don't like it as much as Wix for what I've needed it for, because there are just like a couple of things that kind of bother me for my own personal use, but we can start with some of the positives first.
Okay.
So Squarespace has really nice templates for like all sorts of things, where if you have a, say, like a photography website that you're building, you can search for that specifically and you'll have a bunch of templates. Or if you have a like physical shop selling, for example, clothing items, you can search for templates which will help guide you through your website for that,
Hmm.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Once you choose a website, you are kind of locked into that template format, more so than with Wix. Whereas I started with like a template on with my Wix website and it ended up looking completely different. You are a bit more locked in on Squarespace, which can be a good thing if you struggle with design and trying to make things look nice and have your web pages, like flow together and have them matching. I really like the design aspect of creating websites. So I think that's just kind of a personal thing where like I miss some of that customization. But yeah, if you're just someone who has no idea what they're doing, then this is probably a good thing for you.
Yeah.
I do find some aspects of Squarespace to be just slightly less user-friendly or intuitive than with Wix. But I think it's maybe just because I'm more used to Wix and the like free-for-all style of customization that they offer. So that could just be on me. Overall, I think it's still pretty straightforward with how to add things. I haven't really needed to go in and do like custom code for anything on Squarespace, which is really nice.
Is Wix more like overwhelming as far as customizing, do you think? Or is it pretty like for the people that are layman's in this, is it pretty attainable to catch on to?
I think it's pretty attainable. Like the customization is kind of just options for you. If you want to just add a button and you don't want to like change the color or add a border or change the font or whatever, you can just add that button and you can copy it and paste it to all of your other pages on
Okay.
Wix. So it's really just like the customization is there if you want it, but it doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Yeah, and then with Squarespace, they also have all of the things like a blog feature, email marketing, all that, like newsletter, all that kind of stuff. And I do think actually that their shop feature, their e-commerce feature might be a bit more user-friendly than Wix. I know that's a bit more what they're known for compared to Wix. So if you sell physical products, this is probably a good option, but either or I think would be good. And then the last website builder that I will talk about is Shopify. So I definitely think this is the least user-friendly of the three. And I'm hesitant to suggest it to people with little to no tech savvy who are just, trying to get something out there because it's a bit more involved. So we can start with the positives with Shopify too. So first, Shopify has the most advanced shop e-commerce feature, and it's really easy to integrate customer payment, shipping and tracking, and all sorts of other stuff where they have like add-on apps that work with Shopify, which like yeah, like payment plans and things like that. So if you do have a physical product and it's something that you think is going to like your business is going to grow and you might need just something a bit more robust, then I think Shopify would be a really good option for you for e-commerce specifically. If you don't have a physical product to sell, I'd suggest maybe one of the other platforms just because they are a bit more user friendly. But with Shopify, they also have really great templates. But once you choose one and start to customize it, you're pretty locked in with that template. Unless you kind of want to start from scratch with a new template. Like
Mm.
if you want to change things around, it's really difficult to do that once you've
Hmm.
started building your website on Shopify.
I wonder why they have that where it's really not able to, move things around. That's kind of weird to me.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean you can like move things around like on a page, but it's like if you say you start with like a like since we've been talking about it like a photography page template that like looks really nice and then you decide down the road, well, I want to add on this like additional feature. Maybe it's selling prints and having those like correspond, I don't know, to like some YouTube video or whatever. That might just be a
Hmm.
bit more complicated. And yeah, if like you haven't chosen a template that is easy to like add those features, it's just not going to be as easy as if you had picked the template initially, if there's something like a better option out there.
Hmm.
So just make sure that you're going through and looking at all the templates and you may end up paying for one because I think the free templates that you have are kind of limited. So if there is
Okay.
something a bit more specific that you're looking for, you might have to pay for it.
So for Shopify, Wix, and for
Squarespace.
Squarespace,
Yeah.
uh, all of them have free templates, or is
Mhm.
there? Okay, awesome.
Yep, all of them have free templates, and like with everything, there are also templates where you can pay. I just found that with my experience using the three different website builders, that Shopify has like the fewest free templates
Mm,
where they're like pretty basic. And then if you do want things with like more advanced features or more like different page setups, you might have to pay for it. And I kind of feel like that's been my experience with Shopify too, is that if you want to add on things, you're probably going to pay for it.
okay.
Even though it is like not super customizable too, it does keep your pages looking really clean and professional. So again, if
Mm,
that's something that you might struggle with, like seeing the vision, then having a rigid structure is not a bad thing.
right.
Um, but adding some specific additional features can be difficult and frustrating. So for one of my past clients that I built a website for on Shopify, they were trying to add a like message feature at checkout. Their business is that they're a glass blower and they would create these glass orbs or like paperweights and they would
Mm.
infuse ashes, cremains from pets or family
Oh,
members into it.
yeah.
Yeah, amazing and like beautiful work.
Yeah.
But sometimes they would want multiple orbs for the same set of ashes, or they would have a couple sets of
Oh,
ashes coming in, and they
right.
would need to know which orb went to which like set of ashes. And we were
That makes
trying to
sense.
just figure out how to add a message feature so they can, put in all of the info. And we ended up having to completely like dig into the code and thank God that my husband is a software developer because at that point I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah, he had to go in and help me and like look into how this is actually happening. So if you want to add in some of those like really specific features that you might need for your business,
Hmm.
then you may end up paying someone who like does Shopify sites specifically to help you with those kind of things.
Okay. And then
Um,
do you find people like that on Shopify or like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yep. So they have like a resource where you can pay people like through Shopify to like help you set up your website or things
Oh,
like that,
gotcha.
which I've never used their help feature. So I don't know how great they are or how responsive,
Mm,
but yeah, it's just something to keep into consideration when you're choosing a platform to build your website on, like how much customization do you need? What kind of like tech savvy do you have and experience doing this kind of stuff? So yeah, I would definitely say Wix or Squarespace ahead of Shopify, but for like e-commerce and selling products, if you're ready to take it on, I mean, I think that Shopify is a great platform too. So yeah, just a little bit about my experience with that.
hmm.
And then, of course, we can go through the other alternative of talking about building a website from scratch with code. So, unless you're a software developer or have large company that requires tons of customization to get things exactly where you want them, I would not suggest programming a website from nothing.
Right.
Um, but yeah, because the other previously mentioned website builders do a great job for most circumstances. And the thing is, if you are paying for someone to build your website from scratch, then you're kind of relying on them to like build this thing, which could
Hmm.
take a while and it's going to be very expensive based on their hourly rate.
Mm.
And whenever you need to update something, or even if it's just like a minor change, it could take a long time and it's gonna be expensive.
Okay.
And when you don't use something like Wix or Shopify or Squarespace, you lose the help feature to chat with a live person, or like all of those other websites have little helpful instructional videos on like how to do this. And you can watch a video and it'll kind of walk you through how to add a certain feature, how to move things around on your website, or whatever the case may be. So you kind of lose that if you're just coding something from
Hmm.
scratch. And as someone who owns a business, just kind of me, myself, and I doing all of the things,
Yeah.
I don't really like to rely on other people to ensure that I'm successful. And
Yes.
having to rely on someone else to make just even minor website changes can be a barrier. And that's
Mm.
not to say that you should be doing everything on your own as a business owner and that having someone who is really good at doing website stuff, like that's not a bad thing, but it's just, again, something to take into consideration that, like, if you want to do something urgently, it might just be a bit harder to have that urgency when you're not the one who's able to do it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like you're on your own schedule. And it just goes to show that you are able to do it on your own because for some people that don't have a background in programming or
Right.
anything like that, it's very intimidating to get into. So, I
Hmm.
mean, you're clearly doing it at your own pace, with your own creativity. So I
Right.
think that it makes it more attainable to other people.
Yeah, exactly. And with Star Media, my like social media marketing business, the website that I had, I would get a new client and I would add them to my website for my like portfolio page. And if I
Mm,
had to, talk to someone else and provide media and create the verbiage and say, this is what I want, like it could just take so much longer versus me just like going in whenever I had a spare minute and like
yeah.
adding them to the website. So I think if I had to go through somebody else, I would probably be a lot slower to make those kind of updates rather than just being able to like go in and stay on top of things myself.
Absolutely. But I feel like you and I are like do-it-ourselvers. Like we
Yeah,
just want to get it done.
right, for sure. And I feel like I have a bit of that like type A personality where I'm like, no one is gonna care as much as me. I
Yeah.
have to do it myself to get it
Yeah.
right. And maybe that's like a little bit of a toxic trait, but it's also helped me be successful. So like pros and cons.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's helped us.
Right. Since last August, I have been going to school for software development and not having any experience really doing programming or anything like that before when I started my business. I'm now taking a web development class where I'm working on my midterm project, which is to create a 6-page site and online store. And so I'm creating my photography website, recreating it with the parameters that are required for this assignment. And I've been having a lot of fun with it, but it
Yeah.
definitely puts it into perspective, just like how time consuming and difficult just seemingly minor changes can be. Like, let's move this over to the right or like align it this way. And you have to like go in and find where that is and make sure there's not all of these other rules that are telling it to go somewhere else. And so,
Oh,
yeah, when you have someone who is like building your website from scratch, those little tiny changes that I could go and make on like Wix or Squarespace or whatever in like a minute, it's going to take a lot longer. So that's why I would definitely say, like, unless, yeah, you're a huge company and you have very specific, detailed parameters on what your website should look like, I would really just suggest using one of those website builders instead of starting from scratch, unless you're just like looking for a project and doing it for fun.
got it.
So, just some final tips to leave off with this episode. Number one, in a design sense, keep your homepage pretty simple, but make sure that the visitors of your site get the gist of what you offer. So, keep it simple, not a lot of text. Keep all of the like
Mhm.
about this business and all of the information into your about page where people are like actually digging in and wanting to learn more. But for the homepage, keep it simple, have it be visually appealing, add some pictures or videos and just like a little bit of text so people kind of know what's going on. But it doesn't need to be anything too crazy on the homepage.
Yeah, I've seen where it's like this long
Yeah.
for the about me, and I'm just like reading and reading. I'm like, I'm just trying to like order.
Yeah, let's just like pick through this.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then for each of your pages, you want to keep a consistent style. So with the page format, like keep your headers looking the same. If your logo's in the corner, keep it the same size in the same corner. Make sure that you're following the same font sizes and font families and branding colors and all of that kind of stuff. So it's not like, am I even on the same website? If I go from
Right.
page to page, like make sure that, yeah, you're just kind of keeping it consistent.
It's got to be cohesive wherever you look.
Yeah, exactly. And Mims, like you said, if you have a very like detailed about page or whatever, make sure that you're breaking some of those big chunks of text into smaller sections. So, smaller paragraphs, sprinkle in some photos and videos to keep it interesting because no one wants to just read a novel on a page on a website. Like,
Right.
no
Like when
one's
I
going to
was
do that.
3, I came across this toad. Like I don't really need
Right.
that.
Like, I mean, unless you have a blog, but even then, like, add some
Right.
visual aids, like, just
Hmm.
break it up into sections.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. And then if you don't sell products directly on your site, so for example, for my photography website, I use that as sort of just like, here's about my photography business, Rooted Prints. This is some pictures. These are my galleries. This is about me. And then I actually sold the prints on a site called Darkroom. So I don't
Hmm.
actually have to deal with figuring out how to get my pictures printed. I just use this other site that does it for me.
Oh,
So if
cool.
you have something similar to that where you're not actually selling your products directly on your website, it's still a good idea to have like your own separate website or have like a landing page where you can capture people's info or make them able to sign up for future marketing and things like that, but make it easy for them to actually get to your shop. So
Hmm.
have a link on like the tab, like on next to the homepage or whatever, that will take them to your Etsy page or your darkroom page or whatever it might be.
Right.
So, yeah, just make it easy and accessible so people can give you money for the things that you are selling.
Right.
So, those are just a couple of tips on what the content of your website should be. I can definitely go into this more in a future episode if you guys are interested. But for this one, I just kind of wanted to keep it more broad and show you what the options are and some pros and cons based on experiences I've had using Shopify, Wix, and Squarespace.
And I have a tip just as like a consumer looking on websites. I've come across some websites where I've been completely turned off because I feel like a third grader could have done it, and I'm just like, man, I really don't want to like go with this person or buy from this person because it doesn't look like professional. And so appearance is everything when it comes to that. So don't skimp on it. Don't just put like a minimal effort into
Right.
it. If you're going to put yourself out there, do it in the best way that you can because you can lose people from that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your website is your opportunity to sell your business and to
Hmm.
show who you are and what your values are. And if you're throwing up something that's just really not done well and looks really bad, then it's probably better to not even have a
Yeah.
website than have
Yeah.
like a really bad website. Then maybe just send them directly to like your Etsy page or whatever if you're not
Yeah.
willing to put in that time.
Yeah.
But it's an initial investment. It's time consuming at first, but once you have it set up, then it's going to start paying dividends if you do it right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I have learned so much, and I hope that all of our listeners are learning along with me because all of this information I'm going to use. I'm going to, internally lock that in. So
Yeah.
thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, hope it was helpful. And I'm excited if you guys end up creating a website or end up updating your website or switching gears here for whatever your side business or side hustle or whatever it is that you were selling things on, then feel free to send it to us in our
Yeah.
DMs. I would love to see and, give some
Mhm.
pointers with some of the experiences that I've had because the whole design and website thing, like, is very pleasing to me. So
Yeah,
I'd love to talk with any of you guys who are doing that.
absolutely. Well, thank you all for listening to this episode. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and then follow us on Spotify as well.
All right. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Passive Aggressive Income was written, recorded, edited, and produced by co-hosts and creators Mims and Lexi. We truly want to thank our listeners, collaborators, friends, and family that continuously support us for all the love we receive. If you enjoy our show, please give us a glowing rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram to see what we are up to. For any inquiries, please email passiveaggressiveincome2023@gmail.com. Episodes of Passive Aggressive Income are available wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure to subscribe and like us on your favorite streaming platform.